This video will contain spoilers for our anime series. Thank you.
Oh dear. Dragon is going through another list. I wonder what heinous topic she's going to go through.
Ready, Loki? Hello everyone, this is Dragon Videos, ready to do another top 10 list, and this time I'm including Loki in it as we are going through another hated characters list. That's right, I am doing another topic of characters that we just love to hate, and this time it's an anime. So many of you figured there are a lot of anime characters that are really cute and bubbly and that you really just want to invite them into your house to just say hello, good morning, like a lovable if not overly eating Kirby. However, there are some characters that you just can't help but groan or even scream at the screen whenever they show up onto this scene. So for this list, I'm going over anime characters that have done something awful up to the point where we just can't stand them being out in this series anymore, as well as just wish them to be gone. Sometimes it's not just the actions, it can also be the physical looks or the psychology that kind of goes with them. Bear in mind there are spoilers in this, as well as having to deal with a lot of temperamental issues. So without further ado, let's go with top 10 hated anime characters. Apollo, the god of the sun. Despite what that means or signifies, he is not a cheery person you'd want to mess with. You see, his familia is very something lustful. He only goes after people that are attractive regardless if they be male or female. And it definitely brings an interesting concept of bisexual characters. Anyway, he definitely feels like one that you really don't want to hang around. I mean, just look at that face! He had that face upon seeing Belle, and thus resulting in something, it's a dangerous manipulative war game. And just being with him is, well, Garnet, a little help if you please? To make matters worse, he only raised hell for the Hestia familia because, one, he had a personal issue with Hestia in terms of romantic relationships, and also because he wanted to steal Belle right from under her, no matter what the cost was, even forcing them to do the war games. Thankfully, his high and mighty attitude got a reality check when he actually had to be dealt with a horrific loss. Thankfully, the familiar strategists managed to came out and figure out what he had to do to take down this petty man-child who dare calls himself a god. But the reason why I put him number 10 is because, again, he's just a very petty man, just trying to manipulate others just to get what he wants, even if it means having to do a war game in order to do so. Plus, he has a very disturbing ego, as well as a very disturbing love life that makes you feel uncomfortable. My advice if you ever get invited to his parties, carry pepper spray at all costs. Despite his early pleasantries, this man is all kinds of dangerous. Maybe even one of the most dangerous organization leaders in the entire Pokemon series. True, Cyrus seems like a little bit friendly in this picture, as well as a well-meaning man, but make no mistake, he is actually involved with Team Galactic. That's right. Cyrus from Pokemon Galactic Battles was the influencer of the Team Galactic, an organization that tries to kidnap some legendary Pokemons in order to create a galaxy of his own, a whole world of its own at that point. But here's the reason why I put him down on this list. He has a very disturbing ideology that people are better off without emotions such as rage and sorrow, almost up to the point where they're robotic. He believes that sorrow and anger lead nothing more than to destruction of civilizations and just that they would ruin other people. I feel like I can't help but know that it just reminds me a lot of a certain cartoon character who shares that same philosophy. Anyway, Cyrus is practically a very cold and calculating character. When he wants something, he'll get it no matter what the cost is. His insane ideology definitely puts him in the terrifying category. But he's also hated because he tried to pretend to be somebody's friend in the Pokemon series, as well as going against what Cynthia had originally thought of him. So yeah, this guy is cruel if not insane. Gah! Oh dear God, I have to go with him again. Monoma is practically Monoma, emphasis on the moan, because whenever he appears on the scene, you can't help but feel like wanting to groan and moan when he shows up. Anyway, the reason why I put him this higher up on the list is mostly because he's just so aggravating. The only positive thing is that he knows how to make the best out of his quirk. It's a bit handy because it can mimic almost any kind of quirk. It doesn't seem to do ones that physically affect his body or ones that have some powers that he can't comprehend, which is going to be explained in Season 5. But he also shows he has to require a lot of strategy if he wants to make his quirk work in his favor. But it still didn't change the fact that I put him in number 8 is because how he's just constantly there. I mean, true, he doesn't appear as much as Mineta, but it still didn't change the fact that he would always want to go up into Class 1A's face and try to rub in whatever possible comeuppance he can come up with. It's no wonder Kendo had to keep karate chopping him and practically be his babysitter. He just shows bad behavior towards his classmates, as well as just, dude, give it a break. I understand you want to have rivalry, but not as bad as this. No, just no. Ishtar may be the goddess of beauty, but she's also the goddess of war. Anyway, her jealousy always leads her to sacrificing other people. She wanted to use Haruhime, who was a Renard, and sacrifice her soul in order to get what she wants. When she found out that one of her own had betrayed her and broke a very hellstone, I believe, it led to practically raping. I mean, she raped one of her own members of her familia. She's not above going after people sexually, no matter who they are or what gender. She even went as far as to rape poor Isaka, I believe, when she went against her wishes and charmed her. She practically cares little about her familia, as well as she seems more focused on wanting to take down Freya, no matter the cost. She even barely pays attention to what the heck that her familia is doing. I feel like she has little control over them. I mean, at this point, she even has little control on her captain. That, my friends, what you're staring at is probably a 200-pound beefy Dora the Explorer who wants nothing more than to destroy men whenever possible. Ishtar definitely has no control over her goddess, over her captain, and tried to get her disciplined. I feel like she never even bothers trying to do so. This just makes Hestia practically a better goddess, maybe 4 times the goddess that Ishtar will be. I mean, even Ishtar wanted nothing more than to mess with the Hestia familia if possible. Even tried to go as far as trying to charm Belle, which thankfully did not work. But it still showed she was very heinous throughout the majority of Season 2, wanting nothing more than to use Haruhime, who is nothing more than a little toy to her, as using a source of magic to take down the Freya familia, all because a few men don't give her much attention. So yeah, Freya did a big favor for the entire fandom by getting rid of Ishtar permanently. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am including Endeavor on this one. And basically, he abused his family later on in life, mostly because he was obsessed with trying to be better than All Might. To make matters worse, his ambitions began to take on a toxic hold on poor Todoroki, up to the point where he resents his own power. To make matters worse, he is practically the reason why the villain Dabi exists in the first place. But bear no mind, he has recognized that he did some wrong. He's not able to fix it soon enough, and it may be too late to even have his flat-out redemption, but at least to some credit, the one thing that we can recognize is that he feels sorry for it, unlike most of the competitors on this list. But still didn't change the fact that his ambitions and his cold, dark desire to prove himself worthy than All Might definitely drove him and his family up to the point where they were practically broken. So yeah, he is practically the Father of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. Father of the Year. Out of all the gods in Danmachi, he's the worst. In more ways than one. You think Apollo and Ishtar's bad? This guy practically allows his familia to do whatever the hell they want, mostly in terms of unethical. So let me back this up. Iklios is a very lazy, laid-back out god who doesn't give a fudge about anything. As long as the human world could do some big old entertainment for him, he could care less of what Dix and the rest of his familia would be doing in the dungeons, which unfortunately involves them being in the black market. What do they sell exactly? Well, his familia goes and collects the Xenos, creatures who actually are dungeon monsters but grow more intelligent with each reincarnation when they've been spawned out of a dungeon, which makes it more disheartening and infuriating whenever we see him across the screen. He just allows this to happen and comes up with the lame excuse that he could do nothing about it. Dear Lord Dude, you're a god. You have the power to do anything with your familia, as well as pull a charm on them at any given cost, but yet you chose not to because they just gave you entertainment. Thankfully though, he was banished from Aurario, though he deserves worse after his inability to stop what his familia was doing. Though I would have been more satisfied if they got rid of his stupid grin. Don't get me wrong, there are some decent adults in the Fruits Basket series. In the Soma family, we have Hattori, Shigure, well, more or less, as well as Ayame, as well as Kyo's master. We also have Kyoko Honda, who practically raised Toru by herself and put her gang days behind her. And then there are those with a little bit understandable, like Momiji's mom, as well as Kisa's. They're both struggling with the curse and they don't know how to deal with it. Yuki's mom has no excuse. She uses the position of a rat for her own selfish gain, no matter how miserable Yuki is. Kyo's isn't exactly fun and peachy either, with a bottom-feeding dad who likes to suck everything else and likes to throw the blame on Kyo. Even Toru's family has bad apples, a lot of bad apples, who like to give Toru a hard time because her mom used to be part of a gang. I mean, seriously people, the past is the past. I know some people may not always go through, but will it kill you to give a benefit of a doubt? I mean, half of the adults in this series were horrible. They were abusive emotionally, physically, and mentally. And they have the lamest excuse you'd ever hear. No matter how many times you hear, you just get sick of it over and over. If Kyoko Honda was alive, I'm pretty sure she would put her foot down, march over to the Somas and whoever else was a horrible parent, and give them a good reckoning that they'll never forget. Believe me, I would have loved to see that. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am bringing one of our favorite villains into play here. Overhaul is practically a very dangerous character. Not only did he practically abuse Eerie, he had to manipulate the League of Villains in order to join their crew, much to poor Twice's chagrin, as well as Toga being practically trying her best not to kill him. To make matters worse, we have Eerie being treated as a lab rat, practically being sliced up into millions of pieces and then being emotionally, if not physically, scarred for life. To make matters worse, Overhaul was not above abusing his own men, using his quirk to build them up or shake them down. He is not even above taking out his own boss, the very man who raised him and tried to be reasonable with him. This guy is a despicable ticking time bomb. He's almost as bad as All for One, practically using people at a drop of a hat, just using their own insecurities against them, just so he can wipe out quirks, even though he uses his own quirk just to prove a point. So yeah, he's kind of a hypocrite in his own right. I wouldn't be even surprised if Stain takes him on. Speak of a devil. He is a living nightmare, not above manipulating anyone to get what he wants. And Tomura is practically the perfect example. The reason why I say that is because at the very beginning, Tomura was suffering a quirk that was beyond his control, as well as making him parallel to that of Eerie if she had not gotten help. Anyway, All Might discovered him and soon learned that he is Nana Shimura's grandson and practically played the long game. Oh yes, folks, he used that long game in order to make a living machine out of Tomura, thus resulting in the manipulative nightmare fuel that we'll see later on in the anime series for some of you who had read the manga. To make matters worse, he is not above trying to give people emotional and physical pain, as well as trying to use it for his own benefits like he used for the League of Villains. But he also found ways of also doing it to poor All Might, such as telling him that Tomura is the grandson of Nana Shimura, as well as that Nana Shimura was killed by All for One himself. This just makes him so delightful in more ways than one. Not only that, but he has been using his power constantly to string people along. Basically, he's like the puppet master of all things. He'll give and take a quirk at his own will just to see if he could find any benefits from the people he encounters. So yeah, basically every person he meets, he just makes them dance to his whim because he plans on becoming a future Demon King. And make no mistake, I find him as one of the most intimidating anime villains, which is also one of the reasons why I put him at number 2 in the anime list. Okay, folks, get ready for number 1, but first, Loki, get ready for our honorary mentions. Full speed ahead. Oh yeah, Hermes. He was basically Belle's wingman in the past series. But despite his laid-back and somewhat helpful attitude, he has a very sinister, backstabbing dark side to him. He so obsessed of having to be a perfect hero, he is practically reduced to practically bargaining with Xenos, in which setting up a bargain which he considered suicidal. He made Glos want to kill himself by forcing Bell to slay him whenever the chance arrives. This is definitely sickening, especially considering he was working with one god who was trying to help the Xenos live within the dungeon. Yeah! That's not a goldfish! That's a piranha! Even Horikoshi practically hated this guy as much as the fans. I heard that when he made chapter 297, he was practically crying when he was trying to do the jailbreak scene and he had to bring this guy back. Dear God! Oh, her. She was a double-dealing, backstabbing brat who had no rules and regulations of her own. She feels like because she's a princess, she's entitled to just call people trash and take things whatever she wants. It does not help that her nitwits of maids never bother with actually correcting this behavior. I mean, seriously, she deserves worse. And plus, where are the parents at? They need to work on this discipline, regardless if she's a royal or not. I'm just saying. There were two characters I had a hard time figuring out where to place them in, but by the end of the day, I finally decided to put both of them on the number 1 spot. For very two different reasons, I hate them both, mostly because of just how they handle other people in the most monstrous way possible. Not only that, but whenever they appear onto the screen, I feel a sense of rage. And if many of you are familiar with Fruits Basket and Don Machi Season 3, you would understand why. So with Akito Soma from the Fruits Basket, he is not only the head of the family, but also the god of the zodiac. Then she's part of a reason why this curse is there. She was not above of belittling or hurting Toru just to supposedly put her in her place and remind her that she is an outsider. She has a high resentment for women, even though ironically Akito is a girl. To make matters worse, she actually put psychological torture for Yuki up to the point where she practically got away with murder. Not only that, but she got very physical with Hattori as well as with Kyo. She even went about hurting Momiji. I mean, this girl was practically hurting people left and right because she did not want them to have a happiness that she could not have, mostly because of thanks to her parents, mostly her horrible mother, as well as the elderly adults in the Soma family. So yeah, I don't get why Shigure wanted to be with Akito at the end of the series. I mean, they're just toxic alone, but it's just sickening. Akito's just a very sick person, and even though she had some stuff that you could sympathize, I still feel a sense of anger when she's in the room, as well as I did not want to leave any members of the Zodiac alone with her. Being a god or not, she had no right to treat the people around her like that and expect them to be with her. Of course, then there's Dix, the captain of the Eklos Familia, as well as the reason why there was so much hell for the Xenos in the first place. This psychotic nutjob takes pleasure of hurting anyone that he wishes, rather through stabbing, and I'm pretty sure he would not be hesitant to kill a human if allowed to do so. So the thing with Dix here is that he is related to Daedalus, a once very well-known architecture of the dungeons. But then he started to go insane, and the gods finally got fed up with him, even though they should have kept an eye on his kin in the first place, at which Daedalus cursed his kin to continue building Colossus, a man-made dungeon that's supposed to be a work of art. And in order to complete that, he has to go and get money, and the Xenos seem like a meal ticket to him. But he seems to get a kick out of killing these sentinel creatures that now have the capability of thought and feeling, and he has no consideration of that possibility. He definitely rehashes the term of being a monster. What really makes us hate him more was the fact of how he had Vine turned into a monster against her own will by ripping up her tear, as well as setting off the illusions of making all the Xenos fight each other, as well as fighting poor Belle. He was practically using his gifts to hurt and abuse others. He was even above of trying to get Belle to go along with his scheme. He could have gotten away with it, but thankfully that wasn't the case. You see, Belle managed to take charge of the situation, but he almost had the one up. But Belle definitely showed of how humanizing he is, and even we couldn't help but cheer when Belle, Leto, and of course our favorite Minotaur actually done him in, giving him what he deserved. He always had a very ferocious, Dix had a very ferocious, bloodthirsty nature, and disregards for everything. Thankfully though, Asterius did us all a favor by killing him off. Normally we would have a problem with the Xenos acting like this, but with Dix, I'm pretty sure many of us would have made an exception with this. Because if there is anything worse than a human being that is cruel, it's one that has the personality of a beast. So yeah, if you want to know that famous riddle, what makes a monster, what makes a man, Dix is probably going to be one of those vile living reminders. Cold, cruel, and just basically a sadistic son of a gun. Dix and Akito both have won the #1 hated anime characters list. So congratulations, you two. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. I gotta finish up this list before me and Loki go pretty insane. So if you liked what you see, please subscribe, do a like, as well as feel free to comment of what anime character got your goat. This is Dragon Videos, signing off.